Have you ever wondered how the light of reason, kindled by the great minds of ancient Greece, managed to survive through centuries of upheaval and near-total collapse? It's a mystery that speaks to the very heart of our modern world, and the answer is a story more profound and spiritually moving than any fiction. This is the incredible, untold story of how Islam preserved the knowledge of ancient Greece, not in a vault, but by breathing new life into it, transforming it into the very bedrock of the Renaissance and the scientific revolution that shaped our present. It's a tale that challenges everything we think we know about history, faith, and the timeless pursuit of wisdom. Imagine a world where the works of Aristotle, Plato, and Ptolemy were lost forever, world without their groundbreaking ideas in medicine, astronomy, and philosophy. It very nearly happened. As darkness fell over Europe, a magnificent light was being kindled in the East, fueled by a divine command to seek knowledge, even if you have to go as far as China. This wasn't merely academic, it was an act of deep spiritual devotion. Scholars in the Islamic world saw in these ancient texts not pagan ideas, but lost keys to understanding the magnificent complexity of God's universe. They embarked on history's greatest translation project, not for glory, but out of a sacred duty to truth. This journey we're about to take together is more than a history lesson. It's a contemplation on the invisible threads that connect us all. It's about how faith became the guardian of reason, and how a choice made over 1,000 years ago directly impacts the device you're using right now to watch this. If you're ready to explore this breathtaking bridge across time and culture, then you are in the right place. If this sounds like the kind of story that changes how you see the world, then please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps us continue to bring you these hidden stories of our shared human legacy. Now let's step back in time together. Asterisk. Imagine a world where the wisdom of the ages, the profound inquiries of great minds like Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates flickered on the brink of vanishing forever. As the light of classical antiquity dimmed in Europe, casting long shadows across a continent, it was in the vibrant heart of a burgeoning Islamic civilization that a quiet, determined revolution was taking root. This wasn't a story of conquest, in the traditional sense, but a sacred conquest of ignorance, deep spiritual calling to seek knowledge wherever it could be found, a principle echoed in the very fabric of their faith. The Abbasid caliphs in Baghdad didn't see foreign texts. They saw lost keys to understanding God's universe, and they embarked on history's most ambitious translation project to bring them home. There's something profoundly moving about picturing a scholar in a candlelit scriptorium. It's not in Athens or Rome, but in Baghdad or Cordoba, meticulously transcribing a Greek manuscript onto fresh parchment. His pen moves with a reverence that transcends mere academic duty. It is an act of devotion, ibadah. Each translated word of Galen's medicine, or Ptolemy's astronomy, is a prayer, stitched in a grand tapestry weaving the logic of the Greeks with the divine unity of Tawhid. They weren't just passive librarians. They were active participants in a conversation across centuries, adding their own insights, challenging old ideas, and building upon this inherited legacy with a breathtaking creativity. So when we hold a modern textbook, we are touching something far more ancient and interconnected than we often realize. The bridge that carried the rational light of Athens through the darkness was built by the faithful hands of Muslim scholars, scribes, and sultans who believed that all knowledge, from whatever source, ultimately leads back to the divine. This golden chain of transmission, this sacred trust, is one of history's greatest untold stories. Asterisk. Think about the very essence of this endeavor. It wasn't a cold mechanical transfer of data. It was a spiritual reawakening. These scholars, like Al-Kindi, Al-Farabi, and Ibn Sina Avicenna, immersed themselves in these texts, not as dead letters, but as living, breathing challenges to expand their own understanding of God's creation. They ask questions the Greeks never conceived of. How does Aristotle's prime mover align with the concept of one? It's all-powerful God. Can logic and revelation coexist? In their contemplations and voluminous commentaries, they did more than just preserve. They baptized this knowledge into a new, holistic worldview. enriching it with insights from Persian, Indian, and their own unique intellectual traditions. The House of Wisdom in Baghdad became a beacon not just for storing books, but for generating a new light. And what a light it was. The synthesized knowledge didn't stay locked in libraries. It illuminated the path out of the Dark Ages for Europe itself. Centuries later, when European scholars like Thomas Aquinas began to hunger for the wisdom of the ancients, they didn't turn to crumbling Greek scrolls. They turned to the meticulous Arabic translations and brilliant commentaries from places like Toledo in Spain, which had been a Muslim capital of learning. The very texts that fueled the European Renaissance, the works on medicine, astronomy, philosophy, and mathematics, were often carried across the linguistic and cultural bridge built by Islam. The ink on those pages was Arabic, but the knowledge within was a universal gift. So, my friend, this story invites us to see history not as a series of isolated chapters, but as a continuous, flowing river of human seeking. The preservation of Greek thought was an act of profound intellectual love and spiritual duty. It reminds us that knowledge is a sacred trust, meant to be passed on, built upon, and used to illuminate the world for all people, regardless of creed or origin. It's a powerful testament to the fact that when we open our minds and hearts to wisdom from any source, we don't lose our identity. We fulfill a deeper purpose, becoming participants in a grand, divine conversation that spans across centuries and civilizations. Asterisk, you see. This journey of knowledge wasn't just about massive libraries. It was carried on the shoulders of individuals whose stories are truly inspiring. Consider the Banu Musa brothers, who funded expeditions to retrieve ancient manuscripts from the Byzantine Empire, or the legendary translator Hanan ibn Ishaq, who would cross deserts and negotiate for a single precious page of Galen, treating it with more care than one would treat gold. Their personal dedication adds a deeply human layer to this epic. Was their individual faith, their burning curiosity, that became the vessels for this great river of wisdom. They worked with the quiet understanding that they were links in a chain, serving something far greater than their own lifetimes. This spirit of seeking, this ilm, is an Arabic isn't just a historical artifact. It's a living invitation. It asks us what knowledge we are cherishing and passing on today. What are the manuscripts in our own lives that we are diligently preserving, translating for a modern audience, and building upon for the sake of future generations? Encourages us to look beyond artificial boundaries and to see the pursuit of understanding, in all its forms, as a fundamentally sacred act. This legacy challenges us to be more than consumers of information, but to become active stewards of wisdom ourselves. It's humbling to realize how interconnected our world truly is, and how a choice made in faith over 1,000 years ago can directly shape the world we live in now. If you're captivated by these hidden threads that weave our history together and want to explore more stories of how cultures connect and inspire one another, I invite you to join our community. Subscribe to the channel for more contemplative journeys into our shared history. Let's continue this conversation together and uncover the wisdom that lights our way forward. There are so many more bridges to cross and stories to unfold. Asterisk. This sacred guardianship of knowledge fundamentally reshaped the world in ways we still benefit from today. Those meticulous Arabic translations didn't just preserve ideas. They became the fertile ground for monumental advancements. Scholars like Al-Khwarizmi didn't just translate Greek mathematics, he built upon it, giving the world algebra from his book, Al-Kitab, Al-Muqtasir, Fi Hisab, Al-Jabar, Wal-Muqabala, and the algorithmic concept. Physicians like Al-Razi and Ibn Sina compiled encyclopedic medical texts that became the standard in European universities for centuries. They took the spark of Greek inquiry and fanned it into a brilliant flame, adding crucial layers of observation, experimentation that the ancient world had never seen. It makes you wonder about the nature of progress itself, doesn't it? We often imagine it as a straight line, but it's more like a relay race through time. The baton of understanding was passed from hand to hand, from culture to culture, and in this critical moment, it was held securely by the Islamic world. this wasn't a mere transfer, it was a transformation. The rational tools of the Greeks were infused with a spirit of holistic inquiry that sought to see the unity in all creation. From the movement of the stars to the pulse within a human vein, this fusion created a new paradigm of learning that saw no conflict between the logical mind and the spiritual heart. So, as we walk through our modern world, surrounded by the fruits of science and reason, we are, in a way, walking through a garden that was tended by many hands across millennia. The very framework of our thought is built upon this profound collaboration of civilizations. It's a beautiful reminder that no culture holds a monopoly on wisdom, and that light can be kindled from many different sources. This story invites us to look at history with gratitude for those who kept the lamps of knowledge burning, ensuring that their light could eventually be passed forward through the great universities of medieval Europe to illuminate the path to the present day ***. Yet, this enduring legacy asks a quiet question of us today. What does it mean to be a guardian of light in our own time? The scribes and scholars of the Islamic Golden Age understood that preservation was not an end in itself, but a sacred responsibility to future generations, act of faith, that their work would one day blossom in ways they could scarcely imagine. They trusted in the unfolding of a divine plan much larger than themselves, finding purpose in being a single, vital link in an eternal chain of transmission. This invites us to consider our own role. What knowledge, what beauty, what essential truths are we being called to protect and pass on with that same faithful diligence? There's a profound spirituality in this act of bridging worlds. It is the very essence of seeing the divine signature in all forms of pursuit of truth. The scholars who pored over Ptolemy's star charts did so with the awe of understanding the majesty of Allah's creation. Each calculated orbit a verse in a cosmic Quran. The physician studying Galen saw not just a medical text, but a guide. 2. Upholding the sacred trust of the human body. This perspective didn't diminish the Greek works. It elevated them, framing all knowledge as a path to deeper worship and a more profound connection to the universe. It was this synthesis of intellect and spirit that gave their work its timeless power and grace. So, as this story continues to unfold, it leaves us not at an ending, but at a perpetual beginning. The light that was kept alive in the halls of Baghdad and Cordoba is the same light that fuels our modern quest for understanding. It merely passes through different lamps. It reminds us that civilization is a collaborative masterpiece, a conversation across centuries where we all have a part to play. This historical moment stands as a timeless testament to what humanity can achieve when we approach the wisdom of the past with reverence, and the future with a hopeful and generous heart, ready to contribute our own chapter to this never-ending story. This incredible journey of ideas whispers to us about the very nature of civilization itself. It challenges the simplistic notion of a clash of civilizations, offering instead a powerful testament to a beautiful, enduring dialogue. The ink that flowed from the pens of Muslim scholars became a lifeblood that connected epochs, proving that human progress is not a solitary race, but a relay of wisdom, where one culture, guided by its values, receives the torch from another and carries it through the night so that all may eventually bask in its glow. This wasn't appropriation, it was a form of intellectual gratitude, a recognition that truth, wherever it is found, is a universal heritage too. Be honored and enriched. One can almost feel the spiritual conviction that must have fueled this monumental effort, a deep-seated belief that in pursuing ilm, or knowledge, they were engaging in an act of worship. Each translated theorem, each meticulously drawn astronomical chart, was a step closer to understanding the divine logic woven into the fabric of the universe. The rationality of the Greeks, once used to ponder abstract concepts, was now harnessed to contemplate the signs of the Creator, the intricate patterns in nature, and the complexities of the human condition. This fusion created a new paradigm where faith and reason were not adversaries, but inseparable companions on the same sacred quest for enlightenment. And so, this story continues to unfold within us. It invites us to look at the world around us, the sciences, or the medicines, the philosophies we often take for granted, and see them not as sterile facts, but as gifts handed down through time by countless faithful hands. It asks us to become mindful stewards of this legacy in our own age, to seek connections over divisions, to contribute our own verse to this ongoing human symphony of understanding. The light that was preserved is now ours to tend, to appreciate and to pass on, brighter than before. To those who will follow, if we listen closely to the echoes of history, we can hear a profound conversation taking place, not in a single language, but in the universal tongues of mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. The House of Wisdom was more than a library. It was a sanctuary where the logical frameworks of Aristotle and the geometric precision of Euclid were engaged in a deep, respectful dialogue with the spiritual insights of the Quran. Scholars saw no contradiction in using Greek logic to explore the wonders of Allah's creation, believing that every law of nature discovered was another verse in the great unfolding book of the universe. This intellectual humility, this willingness to receive, adapt, and elevate knowledge is perhaps one of the most powerful spiritual lessons they leave us. It inspires a sense of awe to consider how these individuals saw their work. For them, this wasn't merely an academic exercise, it was a form of devotion. Translating a text by Ptolemy was an act of reverence, a way to better comprehend the celestial mechanics of the heavens that declare the glory of their maker. Refining Galen's medical texts was a sacred duty to alleviate human suffering too. Honor the body as a trust from God. This mindset transformed the pursuit of knowledge from a secular task into a spiritual journey, where every discovery brought them closer to the divine, filling their work with a purpose that transcended generations. This legacy is a quiet beacon for our own lives, reminding us that we are all part of a vast, interconnected web of learning and inspiration. The choices we make today, what we choose to learn, to preserve, to create, and to share become our own contribution to this eternal chain. We are invited to ask ourselves, what torch has been passed to us, and how will we carry it forward? The story of this preservation is an enduring testament to the power of open hearts and curious minds, a call to approach the world with that same generous spirit, ever seeking, ever grateful, ever building a brighter future on the foundations of a cherished past, There is a certain mystery that shrouds this great undertaking, a whisper of destiny that is felt more than understood. One cannot help but ponder the almost divine choreography that placed these specific texts at that precise moment in history, into the care of a civilization that would see not just words on a page, but a hidden key to the universe. What unseen force guided the journey of a fragile parchment, carrying the thoughts of Aristotle across deserts and seas to find refuge and reverence in a new land? It feels less like a simple historical accident and more like a part of a grand, inscrutable design, a secret kept by time itself until the moment was right for it to be revealed. With each passing decade, the depth of our respect for these guardians of light can only deepen. We are humbled by the sheer scale of their intellectual generosity that asked for no credit, that sought only to serve the truth. They worked in the quiet corners of libraries and observatories, their names often fading into the footnotes of history, yet their collective achievement stands as one of humanity's most noble. There is a profound dignity in their purpose. It became the silent, steadfast bridge over the river of time, ensuring that the voice of reason would not be silenced by the tides of upheaval and forgetfulness. And so, this bridge they built remains, though we often cross it without knowing its origins, carries the weight of centuries, each stone laid with intention and a deep, abiding respect for the wisdom of those who came before. To learn of their story is to begin to sense the invisible architecture of our own world, to feel the presence of those ancient scholars in the very concepts we use to navigate our lives. It invites us to look upon history not as a dead chronicle, but as a living, breathing mystery, where the echoes of dedication and intellect from long ago continue to shape the contours of our modern mind in ways we are only just beginning to fully appreciate. We stand now at the pinnacle of this incredible journey, looking back at the path woven through time, and it takes our breath away. This was more than academic preservation. It was a profound act of faith in the future itself. Those scholars, guided by a light that blended prayer with precision, believed in a world they would never see, a world where their meticulous work would one day ignite revolutions in thought, science, and human understanding. They became the guardians of the flame, not for their own glory, but for ours, trusting that the seeds they planted would find fertile ground in generations yet unborn. It's a staggering testament to the human spirit's capacity for selfless contribution. This is where the story truly transcends history and becomes a mirror for our own souls. God. It asks us, what torch has been passed to us? What knowledge, what beauty, what fragile truths are we entrusted with in our own time? The legacy of the House of Wisdom is not a relic to be admired behind glass. It is a living call to action. It invites us to engage with the world with that same courageous curiosity and deep reverence, to build bridges of understanding in an age that often prefers walls. We are all now part of this eternal chain of transmission, and the question is, what we will choose to add to it. Feeling the weight and wonder of this connection is something that stays with you, changing how you see the world. If this journey through history has resonated with you, if you feel that spark of curiosity to uncover more of these hidden threads that weave our story together, then I warmly invite you to join our community. Subscribe to the channel for more contemplative journeys into our shared history. Let's continue this conversation together and uncover the wisdom that lights our way forward. There are so many more bridges to cross and stories to unfold, and the next chapter is ours to write. Together. Asterisk, asterisk, you know? It's almost overwhelming to sit with the full weight of this, to truly feel the magnitude of that trust across centuries. It's as if those scholars in Baghdad and Cordoba were whispering directly to the future, placing a precious, fragile gift into our hands, believing we would be worthy of it. They could have chosen to let that knowledge fade, to see it as a relic of a foreign past, but instead, they saw its divine spark. They recognized that truth, no matter its origin, is a universal light meant to be shared, not owned. That selfless act of guardianship is one of the most profound gifts one civilization has ever given to the world. And in that realization, friend, we find a quiet but powerful call to our own spirits. This story asks us what we are doing with our own inheritance. Are we passive recipients or active stewards? Are we adding to the great tapestry of human understanding with our own unique threads of creativity, compassion, and inquiry? The legacy they left isn't just about looking back with gratitude. It's about moving forward with purpose. It inspires us to live with that same generous curiosity, to seek connection over division, and to contribute our own verse to this unending human story. So as we near the culmination of this thought, let's not see an end, but a beautiful new beginning. The light that was so carefully kept burning now illuminates our path, asking us to walk forward with both humility and courage. Reminds us that we are part of something vast and eternal, a conversation that began with the ancients, was faithfully tended through the ages, and now continues with us. Our moment to contribute is now, to honor that sacred chain of knowledge by living thoughtfully, learning passionately, and ensuring that the light is passed on, is ever brighter for those who will follow. Asterisk, asterisk. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, about the silent pact made between generations. Those translators, scribes, and philosophers, guided by a deep spiritual imperative, were not just preserving parchment. They were safeguarding the very capacity for wonder itself. They understood that the spark of divine wisdom could be found in the geometry of Euclid as much as in the verses of the Quran, for all truth ultimately leads back to the One, in their eyes. To engage with this knowledge was to participate in a form of continuous revelation, a never-ending conversation with the universe that hums with the presence of the Creator. It was a devotion, a sacred service to humanity's unfolding story. And in that devotion, they achieved something miraculous. They turned knowledge into a living, breathing bridge. A bridge that didn't just connect Greece to the Islamic world, but that connects the past to the present, and ultimately us to ourselves. When a modern doctor studies a medical text, or a physicist ponders the laws of motion, they are, whether they know it or not, standing on that very bridge, beneficiaries of that faithful stewardship. This legacy is a quiet, powerful reminder that the greatest achievements of humanity are never truly solitary. They are collective, built on the generosity of countless souls who came before. So here we are, you and I, at the crest of this realization. It feels less like learning history and more like remembering a part of our own collective soul. This story doesn't end in the past. It vibrates within us now, asking what we will do with this inherited light. How will we honor that sacred trust? It invites us to look at our own lives not as isolated moments, but as vital links in an eternal chain, urging us to contribute our own unique light, to learn with purpose, and to live with a reverence that echoes the faithful scholars of old, ensuring the conversation of wisdom never, ever ends. Asterisk, asterisk. As we approach the end of this part of our journey, it's uninspiring to see the full tapestry laid out before us. From the dusty scrolls of Alexandria to the vibrant intellectual courts of Baghdad and the scholarly halls of Cordoba, a chain of wisdom was forged link by link, not by conquest, but by a profound love for knowledge itself. This was a grand, collaborative project of the human spirit, testament to what we can achieve when we choose to be builders rather than destroyers. When we see the divine spark in the wisdom of others and feel called to protect it, it's a story that doesn't just belong to history, it belongs to all of us. A shared inheritance of light, and perhaps that's the most beautiful mystery of all, how this act of preservation became an act of transformation. The Islamic world didn't just store this knowledge in a vault. They breathed new life into it. They questioned it, refined it, and fused it with insights from other great traditions, creating a new golden age that would eventually rekindle the light of learning in Europe. The torch wasn't just passed, it was made brighter. This reminds us that true preservation isn't about stagnation. It's about active, loving engagement. It's about honoring the past by building upon it, ensuring that the wisdom of the ancients is not a dead relic, but a living, evolving force. So, as we prepare to bring this reflection to a close, let's sit with that feeling of immense gratitude and connection. We are the beneficiaries of that faithful stewardship. The very way we think about the world, the sciences we rely on, the philosophies that shape our societies, they all carry within them the echo of those scribes' prayers and the quiet dedication of those scholars. Their story is a powerful invitation for us to consider our own role in this eternal chain. What does it mean to be a guardian of light in our own time? It's a question that leads us to the very heart of the payoff for this incredible historical journey. Asterisk, asterisk, and so. My friend, we arrive here at the threshold of understanding, looking back at the breathtaking path we've traveled together, is where the historical facts truly transcend into something deeper a feeling. It's the profound realization that the world we know today, with all its advancements and its capacity for reason, stands upon a foundation that was lovingly and faithfully secured for us. Those scholars did not just save texts, they saved a future possibility. They ensured that the human spirit's quest for understanding would not be extinguished, that the light of inquiry could be passed from their hands into the hands of generations yet unborn, and eventually into ours. We are living in the future they dared to believe in and fought to protect. This is the emotional core of it, all the payoff for their centuries of devotion. It's the humbling understanding that we are all connected in an immense, timeless conversation. When a student today studies philosophy, when a researcher ponders an equation, or when a doctor heals a patient, they are, in a very real sense, drawing from a well that was kept full by the faith and diligence of those who came long before. We are the beneficiaries of a sacred trust we never knew we were given. Their legacy is not confined to history books. It is alive in every pursuit of truth. In every moment we choose reason over chaos, connection over isolation. Therefore, this story does not end in the past. It culminates right here, right now, with us. The final chapter of this ancient tale is being written by our own choices, by what we choose to value, to preserve, and to pass on. The greatest tribute we can offer to those guardians of light is to recognize the torch that has now been passed to our own hands. We're invited to become the next link in that golden chain, to live with that same spirit of generous curiosity and reverent stewardship, ensuring that the light continues to shine even brighter for those who will follow us. And that is where the true and most rewarding payoff begins. Asterisk, asterisk, and so. My friend, we find ourselves at the end of this chapter, but truly at the beginning of a new understanding. The incredible journey of how the wisdom of ancient Greece was preserved is far more than a history lesson. It is a timeless reminder of our shared humanity. It's a story about the light we can choose to be for one another, testament to the profound impact we can have when we act as guardians, not just of our own traditions, but of the universal truth that connects us all. This legacy is a gift that has been passed through the ages, and now it lives in us, inviting us to carry its light forward with the same courage, curiosity, and boundless grace. I am deeply grateful you joined me in exploring this hidden thread of our history. If this story resonated with you, if it offered a moment of wonder or a new perspective, then perhaps you might share it with someone else. Share it because it's a story that reminds us that progress is a collaborative act, that knowledge is a bridge, and that even in times of division, our history is filled with beautiful examples of cooperation that changed the world. I would also love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What part of this journey moved you the most? Your reflections add another voice to this everlasting conversation. The story may be concluding here. The exploration doesn't have to end. To continue this journey together and discover more tales of how our world was woven together by unexpected connections, I invite you to watch the video that appears on screen next. It's another step in our shared quest for understanding. Thank you for your time, your curiosity, and your spirit. Until next time, may we all strive to be keepers of the light. Asterisk, asterisk,